that is found in between the filament of blue-green algae or cyanobacteria. So heterosis, if they are present in between the filament, we call it as intercalary heterosis. They have two polar nodules. If this heterosis is present at the tip of the filament or at the end of the filament, we call it as the terminal heterosis, and they have single polar nodule. The entire filament of this nostoc, which is also called as commonly called as moon spit. The nickname for nostoc is moon spit. So they are covered by this mucilaginous sheath. So the nostoc cells are also prokaryotic in nature. They have an incipient nucleus. They have cytoplasm without double membrane cell organelles. The ribosomes are of 70S type. So the earlier name for this blue-green algae was Myxophyceae or Cyanophyceae. Presently, we call the blue-green algae as cyanobacteria. So you can notice this structure, what they have given in your textbook as a example for the blue-green algae. Then we discuss about this bacteria which is undergoing cell division. See, this division is direct cell division. So the initially within the parent cell, the nucleus enlarges in size and then they form dumbbell shape. They form the dumbbell shape. So the nucleus breaks to form two lobes of nucleus, and this two lobes moves towards the opposite pole, and there is a formation of cross wall. This results in two new daughter cells. So this type of reproduction we notice in bacteria, which we call it as binary fission. And in this binary fission, there is no cell stages, cell division stages like prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. They are all absent. That is what you have to notice. Then we'll go for the classification of bacteria. So the bacteria is classified into Archaebacteria and Eubacteria. Eubacteria means true type of bacteria. So Archaebacteria, three types are there. Halophiles, which are found in where the soil or water is saline, you find this Archaebacteria. We call them as halophiles, salt-loving bacteria. Thermoacidophiles, they are found in hot water springs. Methanogens, these archaebacterians, they liberate methane gas. They are found in the gut of the herbivores, so the methanogens. Now, eubacteria, based on the type of nutrition, they are of two types, autotrophs and heterotrophs. Autotrophs, based on their synthesis of food using light or by chemical energy, they are of two types. If they utilize light for synthesis of their own food, we call it as photosynthetic autotrophs. If they are utilizing the energy obtained from the chemical reactions, so we call them as chemosynthetic autotrophs. So the eubacteria autotrophs are of two types, photosynthetic autotrophs and chemosynthetic autotrophs. The eubacteria, the other mode of nutrition is heterotrophs. So heterotrophs are of two types. They might be parasitic or saprophytic. So I have already told you parasitic here implies pathogenic disease causing organism. So the saprophytic, they are the organisms which are dependent upon dead and decaying components of uh, decaying remnants of plants and animals. So we call them as saprophytes. So this is the broad classification of the bacteria, and we'll be studying one by one all the types of bacteria. So to remember this types of bacteria or classification of bacteria, it's better to have a flow chart. Flow chart helps us to remember and recollect this in a very easy way. See the kingdom Monera are bacteria. So we have the Archaebacterians. Archaebacterians, they are living in the very harsh habitat, such as they are extremely salty areas. You find these bacteria. So this Archaebacterians, if they are found in saline areas or saline water, saline soil, we call them as halophiles. Halophiles means salt loving. And some of the archaebacterians are found in hot springs. So we call them as thermoacidophiles, that is temperature loving archaebacterians. And some of them are found in marshy areas. We call them as methanogens. They liberate methane. So that's the reason we call them as methanogens. So you can see below the diagrams of the uh, compound microscope view of halophiles, that is the salt loving archaebacterians. Then thermoacidophiles, the archaebacterians which are found in hot water springs, methanogens which are found in the marshy areas or in the gut region of this cattle. We call them as methanogens. So archaebacteria, they have a different cell wall structure for their survival in extreme conditions. So methanogens are present in the gut of the ruminant animals like cows, buffaloes, etc. So these archaebacterians, they are going to produce methane or biogas from the dung of these animals. So methanogens are present in marshy areas. They are also present in the guts of the ruminant animals like cows, buffaloes, etc. They are going to produce methane, that is the biogas from the dung of these animals. So after the archaebacterians, we have the next variety of bacteria is eubacteria. So they are true bacteria which has a rigid cell wall and a flagellum. If they are motile, they have a flagellum. So the eubacteria, based on their mode of nutrition, they are classified into two major types: the autotrophs, which includes photosynthetic and chemosynthetic bacteria, and the heterotrophic mode of nutrition, which includes the saprophytic and parasitic mode of nutrition. See, in kingdom Monera, eubacteria, we'll discuss about the first variety, that is photosynthetic autotrophs. So example for that photosynthetic autotrophs are cyanobacteria. See, they have chlorophyll A. Cyanobacteria or blue-green algae, they have chlorophyll A, similar to that of green plants. Cyanobacteria, they are unicellular, colonial, or filamentous. So these blue-green algae are unicellular or colonial. So the see here, Anabina is almost unicellular. Oscillatoria is filamentous. Okay. Nostoc is colonial form. Or terrestrial algae is also noticed. Marine or terrestrial algae of this blue-green algae is noticed. The colonies are generally surrounded by the gelatinous sheet. The entire colonies will be surrounded by the gelatinous sheet, which you can notice in nostoc. So they often form blooms in polluted water bodies. See, some of the stagnant ponds or lakes, you can find it to be bluish green in color. If you take that sample and observe it under microscope, you find this blue-green algae. So this blue-green algae, they are going to form blooms or water blooms in polluted water bodies, and they are going to affect the quality of water. Some of the blue-green algae, they can fix atmospheric nitrogen in their specialized cell called as heterocyst. Already I've described heterocyst in Nostoc. So some of the bacteria, eubacteria, they fix the atmospheric nitrogen in specialized cells called heterocysts. Example is Nostoc and Anabina. So kingdom Monera or bacteria under eubacteria, the second variety we have is, so we discussed photosynthetic autotrophs. Now we are going to discuss about the chemosynthetic autotrophs. So you can see in this slide green sulfur bacteria, which is a chemosynthetic autotroph, purple sulfur bacteria, which is also chemosynthetic autotroph. Then you find this Vibrio stagnispumanthus, which is also chemosynthetic autotrophs. So in chemosynthetic autotrophs, the bacteria oxidizes inorganic substances such as nitrates, nitrites, and ammonia and use the released energy for ATP production. So this type of bacteria which utilize inorganic substrates as a source of energy for ATP production. We call them as chemosynthetic autotrophs. So the chemosynthetic autotrophs, they also help in recycling nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, iron, and sulfur. So the uh, for chemosynthetic bacteria, they help in recycling nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, iron, and sulfur. So that is what you have to remember about the chemosynthetic autotrophs. The heterotrophic bacteria. So they are the most abundant in nature. The majority of the heterotrophs are important decomposers. The heterotrophic bacteria, they are more in number than the autotrophic bacteria. So the heterotrophic bacteria are very important decomposers. So heterotrophic bacteria, their impact on human affairs. Let us understand that. So these heterotrophic bacteria, they are used to make curd from milk. See, whenever you borrow the curd from the neighbor's house. So earlier it used to be a way of socialization also, but nowadays since we get the curd sachets, we are not borrowing it from neighbors. Earlier days we used to take a small glass to the neighbor's house and ask them for some little amount of curd. So that curd used to have lactobacillus, and when you poured this culture, the borrowed curd into the milk, they got converted into curd. So this we were doing it earlier. Now the heterotrophic bacteria like lactobacillus, they are used to make curd from milk. So the bacteria are also used for production of antibiotics like streptomycin, neomycin. They are all obtained from the bacteria. So bacteria helps in fixing nitrogen in leguminous roots. The root nodules you find in all this cardo variety, that is the legumes or pulses we call it as, the roots are having small nodules. So root nodules where you find rhizobium bacteria is having a symbiotic association with the leguminous plants. Okay, some of the bacteria are pathogenic and they cause various diseases like cholera, typhoid, tetanus, and citrus canker in plants. They are all caused by this bacteria. So many of the bacteria are pathogenic in nature and they cause diseases like cholera, plague, typhoid, leprosy, tetanus, tuberculosis, and citrus canker in plants. The reproduction in bacteria, it is mainly by fission. So I've already shown you, you can see in the first slide, the parent cell nucleus is enlarged. This nucleus becomes dumbbell shaped and they break into two. So here you can notice a single parent cell by binary fission has formed two daughter cells. Second slide also is about the same binary fission which results in formation of two daughter cells. The third slide, what you have in your textbook, it is also the same. By binary fission, they have formed two daughter cells. Okay, so then there is some of the bacteria, they become thick walled by developing a spore coat and they enter into a resting stage. So these endospores, we call them as these endospores, they are helpful in overcoming unfavorable conditions. On the onset of favorable conditions, the endospores develop to form the uh, new bacteria. So under unfavorable conditions, the bacteria produce spores or endospores. You can see how the endospores are formed in this fourth slide. So the bacteria also reproduce by asexual reproduction, by not asexual, by sexual reproduction, that is transfer of DNA from one bacteria to another. There are three processes for that: conjugation, transformation, and transduction. So this is not there for our study, but bacteria can also undergo sexual reproduction, where DNA is getting transferred from one bacterium to another bacterium. So the examples for the sexual reproduction in bacteria is conjugation, transformation, and transduction. So the next group under this kingdom Monera is mycoplasmas. I've already told you mycoplasmas are commonly called as the smallest living organism, Pleuropneumonia-like organisms. We also call it as PPLO. If you look into the organisms, they do not have cell wall. They are the smallest living cell known. They can survive without oxygen. They are anaerobes. That is what it implies. Many of these mycoplasmas are pathogenic in animals and plants. So you can notice the cell membrane made up of lipoproteins. They have a DNA which is naked, ribosome which is of 70S type, some RNA strands and metabolites are noticed. So these mycoplasmas are the smallest living cells known. They can survive without oxygen, that is, they are anaerobes. Many of the mycoplasmas are pathogenic, which causes various diseases in animals and plants. So that would be sufficient for today's discussion. So we'll discuss about the kingdom Protista in the next class, but I'll give you a brief introduction about Protista. See, Protistans, they are all unicellular organism and they are eukaryotic organisms. So you can write all the characters of eukaryotes. They have a true nucleus with nuclear membrane and nucleolus. They are unicellular organisms. Protistans are unicellular organisms. They are going to have double membrane cell organelles like Golgi complex, endoplasmic reticulum, lysosomes, chloroplasts, mitochondria. All these double membrane cell organelles are present because protistans are eukaryotic. The ribosomes are of 80S type in Protista with a larger subunit of 60S and a smaller subunit of 40S you can notice. Okay, so the king protistants, they are photosynthetic protists. Then there are the protozoan protists, slime molds are there, dinoflagellates. They're all examples for protista, which we'll be discussing in the later classes. As of now, the session is open for you all for a discussion on the doubts that you have. Dear students, if you have any doubts, you can inquire from me